Well, you remember I did the bucket thing, and it came back positive. So now I'm doing the camera thing. The camera thing. I don't know. I've been drinking fancy liquids and flushing out the old system, and we'll see what happens.
Or do the wave. How are you feeling there, Brian?
They didn't find my quarter.
Which quarter are you talking about?
The one I swallowed in '76. It was a bicentennial one. I thought that might come out. He started going a little left, and I said, "Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! You got to go right."
You're giving him directions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had a 50 caliber scope probe there.
Yeah.
I was hoping for the 22 or the small camera.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna turn the camera off because we're gonna listen to the nurse and look at some pictures.
Oh, all right.
we do kind of come at you like a pig crew back there. All right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
put
sit
the
down.
hug the pillow. Bend your knees. Turn to your left. Scoot towards Joanne. Who's Joanne?
Who is Joanne?
I think it was a very long camera.
It was. Yeah, it is very
I
long.
could feel it in my tonsils.
You get an escort.
Yeah, she called it a Cadillac.
Oh, a Cadillac. All right, well, I'm just getting the car. I'm gonna go drive it around the front, grab Mr. Brian, and take him home so he can get a little bit of rest. We're gonna get out of here, and then we'll get the results back in a few days, so I'll see y'all soon.
She's getting married Saturday.
She is.
I told her that love is a verb. It means to do something. It's not a feeling. Hollywood made it a feeling. So when people call and complain and say, we're just not in love anymore, I say, just go home and love your wife. And if you do that, it's very difficult for them to not love you back. That's what I told her. Except, I am a little bit
Drugged up. But that you say that all the time, so
I do say that all the time.
And you
I
do
say that probably once a month.
And you do love your wife.
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love my girlfriend.
Ah!
No, wait a minute.
Okay, I gotta put the phone down because I'm
All right.
driving. On to my bagels. Also from the Clever Carrot, we're gonna do 150 grams of active bubbly starter. That's about the consistency that you want there. Then you need 250 grams of warm water, 250 grams, 24 grams of sugar, a little more than 24. There we go. 9 grams of sea salt. And this is bagels. The bagels, the trick to them is that there's a cold ferment overnight, so you have to start bagels the day before. And 500 grams of bread flour. So Brian fixed my mixer. My mixer is about, I don't know, 30 years old. And it got to a point where if I used the dough hook on it, the bowl would jump off the tracks because of it wouldn't grab on the bottom. So I told Brian I needed a new mixer. And he said, I'll fix it for you. So we're gonna see if he fixed it. All right, let's see. Working, not jumping. Almost. Close. Still jumping.
Wonder if that screw right there needs to be adjusted.
Got to adjust the screw so it ends up very stiff, like that. Make it in a ball. This dough ball. And then we let that rest. Cover it with a damp towel, or I actually use just like a silicone thing here so that it doesn't get dried out. And I'll let that sit for 45 minutes to an hour. So we'll come back, both of these, in just a little bit.
So if you just watched Rebecca's mixer bouncing around and it popped the bowl out of the socket because the head of the mixer was kind of wobbling as she was mixing. So if you look down in here, there is a little set screw right there, and I just backed that out about a half turn. That's kind of the bumper, and now it locks down and it's tight. So I'll continue to try to fix it so we don't have to get a new one.
So I'm gonna pull my bagel dough out and see. I did check on it a little while ago and I believe that it has doubled in size, but I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So if you remember, we only put it in a ball, put the lid on. This is just a little silicone floppy lid to keep it moist. And if you wanna take a peek, it has doubled in size. That is exactly what it is supposed to look like. It looks gorgeous. I'm not gonna touch it. I'm just gonna keep the lid on it. And then we're gonna do a cold ferment in the refrigerator overnight. And then tomorrow morning, whenever I feel like it, it's tomorrow's Sunday, so I'm probably gonna sleep in a little bit, but we are gonna finish our bagels tomorrow, so this is going in the fridge. Here we go. We'll check on our bread a little bit later and we'll get to the bagel dough tomorrow.
This morning we're going to pull the 50 horse outboard off of Big Bob, or formerly known as Big Bob, and get it into the garage. I got a new engine stand, so we'll get it in the garage and give me some winter projects to work on. I still got a shed or shop or something to build this winter, and it's rainy season has hit already, so but right now I just want to pull this off. We'll get the boat back down into the valley. Just drug this boat up here and it looks like it hit and bent the prop. I wonder if you open this up, if you could just push it up. I don't know the answer to that. Look at it.
Is Sunday morning and we're gonna take our bagel dough out of the fridge, see what it looks like. Our fridge is a mess. Tomorrow's fridge clean out day. So working with cold dough kind of goes, if you've done any bread making, kind of goes against everything that you ever think about. But when you're making bagels, kind of does that. So you're supposed to take the cold dough that's been in the fridge and dump it out onto a non-floured surface. And this is what it looks like. It's just a bunch of cold dough. I might have a little bit of condensation on there around the edges. That's not a big deal. Now, keep in mind, I, again, am a novice. I've only done this twice for bagels, and I most likely am probably doing something wrong. But my first batch was not a complete failure, but they came out flat and kind of dense. The second batch that I made came out really, really well. So this is following the second batch method that I used, which included the cold ferment overnight. So we're going to go with that method today, and hopefully they come out as well as the first batch. We're just going to use our hands. It says to flatten it into a rectangle. Honestly, I don't really know why a rectangle is important, so I'm just going to flatten it out to a manageable size here. You want 8 even pieces. Just going to go that way. This, I'm going to make 8 relatively even-sized pieces of dough. And I do like that the cold dough is pretty easy to work with. It's not like the warm, gooey, sticky bread dough that you typically have. So once you get the 8 evenly sized pieces of dough, you start kind of just tucking them under and making little balls like this. You don't want to completely overwork it, but you do want to get it into like the little ball shape like that. And once you've got it in a ball shape, you put it on either wax paper or lightly greased parchment paper. I'm using wax paper because otherwise they will stick. I'm going to put it on there, and then you're going to let them rest for about 20 minutes for quick rise. They're not going to double in size. Keep that in mind. It's not going to get anywhere near the puffiness that you saw with your bulk rise after 10 to 12 hours. So you just want a nice little ball like this. And then after they rest for that 20 minutes, we're going to poke a hole in the middle of them. And I wondered, why do they poke holes in bagels? So I did a little research. Checked on the Google. I'm that generation where we check the Google for everything. And apparently,
I've never been on live television before, but apparently sometimes I don't watch the news because I'm a kid, and apparently Grandpa just gives me a remote after we watch the Powerball.
Apparently. You poke a hole in the middle because you want more cooking surface area so that when you're boiling them, they get better cooked. That's why you poke a hole in the middle of your bagels. So, one of the reasons that I love sourdough is that sometimes I don't do well with bread products. I'm not celiac. I'm not gluten intolerant. I know people who are, and who truly are celiac, and they get rashes and allergic reactions and all those things. And I actually love gluten. I think it's very tasty, and I love bread products. But they don't always agree with me. But what I love about sourdough is that the natural ferment process is just much easier on my gut. So I've really started enjoying sourdough, and I find it kind of a fun, peaceful hobby for me. Long time ago, 30 plus years ago, I used to decorate wedding cakes. And fun fact about me. But you're always trying to please other people, and you're on a timeline and all those things. And so that combined with, the pressures of, having to do scale of economy and all those things, I just kind of got away from that. And then I got a real job. But anyway, so sourdough is sort of like it's like an escape. You just get to, work with your hands and do things that you like to do. Plus, you don't have to rely on supply chain. You don't have to rely on grocery stores. You don't have to rely on other people or the truck coming to deliver things. And here in Alaska, that sometimes becomes an issue. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and let this sit for 15 to about 10 to 15 minutes to relax the gluten. Then we're going to stick our finger in the middle and poke a hole in that. But while that's resting, I'm going to get my water ready. I'll wash my hands first, and I'll show you how that works. Ingredients in the water, it calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey and 1 tablespoon, I believe, of baking soda. Yep. And the reason for that is that it allows the sweetness to kind of penetrate the bagels. That's where you get that little bit of a sweet taste to your bagels. And this is how I measure my honey. I don't, because honestly, I don't think you can have too much, really. This honey is very special. This comes from our friend Dean down in California. I don't know if you can see that or not. Thank you, Dean. You are contributing to our everyday lives here. We don't just put it in our tea, we put it in everything. I do measure the baking soda, 1 tablespoon. And this actually, when you boil your bagels, it starts to activate the baking process. So you put 1 tablespoon of baking soda in your bagel boiling water. So we're going to let that come to a boil while our bagels are resting, and let the honey and the baking soda dissolve as well. I'll do a couple of egg washed bagels, and I'll do a couple of bagels with the everything bagel mix. You can use seeds, you can use any kind of toppings you want. They actually make this everything bagel mix that you can purchase pretty much at any grocery store. You can make onion bagels, garlic bagels. These are your bagels. Like I said, do whatever you want with them. I've made them plain, so I'll probably do a couple plain, a couple egg washed, a couple everything bagels. And like I said, Brian doesn't eat bagels typically unless there's a lot of meat on them. So he's a meat eater. We put the topping on after they've been boiled. So what I do is I just put the topping in a little bowl here. And then after you boil them and they're cool enough to handle, you dip the top of the bagel in here, and then it sticks to the bagel before you bake it. So I'm going to get my egg wash ready, and I'll be back. Nope. Nope. We're not doing that. Yes, I am waiting for water to boil, but this still has 8 more minutes. So I just reread my recipe, and once I poke a hole in the bagels, they have to rest another 15 to 20 minutes. The first 10 to 15 minutes, it's resting. Then I poke a hole in it and cover it with a lightly greased wax paper, and then it rises for 15 to 20 minutes after that, after I poke a hole in it. So I had to reread the recipe. This is only the 3rd time I've made them. Alrighty. Nope. No barking. All right. It's been 15 minutes, so we're going to poke our hole in the middle of our bagels. Can you see them in the frame? Okay, sort of. So I just use my index finger. Seems to be enough for me. And you can pick up your bagels, and I'm actually going to do that because they're sticking to the wax paper, which is not ideal. So I'm I'm gonna use my little scraper here. Oh, fail! So you can stretch them a little more than the hole that you normally see on bagels, because when they have their second rise, that little hole is going to tighten up a little bit, and you'll see that as we do this. In fact, it's already tightened up just a little bit. I'm going to spray just a little bit more here. So that was a fail on my part. I should have sprayed that wax paper to begin with, because they stuck. So lesson learned for me is that they will stick to wax paper. I did not know that. You can tell that they're not like, you know, super goopy, but they're starting to loosen up, but they're still fairly firm, if that makes sense. But you can see from these that the hole is starting to kind of close a little bit, and you can reopen it if you need to. And these holes are not going to be big enough because they're going to close up. There we go. Got it closing up already. I'm just going to stretch them a little more. I watched one video on a gal who said she stretched hers quite a bit. So maybe I'm just going to go that long. All right, so I think we're looking pretty good here. There's that. And we're going to make the dog go crazy. I'm going to pull off another piece of wax paper. Izzy, sit. She doesn't like the tearing of these things. I'm going to spray some of this. Put it over the top just so they don't dry out. And then I'm going to set my timer for 20 minutes. Okay, so this is going to be their second rise. And when we come back, you'll see these holes will probably be a little shrunken, and you will not have a noticeable rise, but they will be slightly more puffy, and then we'll be ready to boil.
Put a little tension on it. Just a hair of tension so I can take the bolts out. Looks pretty good. 19, yep, 19 for the win. Oh, there it is. I think I'm going to keep the boat up here for now. I might build a wooden structure in here with some tarps to keep the snow off of it. I think that's a good idea right now. So I'm going to leave it up here and just park it in the hole. All right, tension's off the engine hoist.
All right, well, it has been 20 minutes, so I am going to start boiling my bagels. As you can see, the holes have shrunken quite a bit. They're a little bit, can't quite tell it on camera, but they're a little bit more puffy than they were 20 minutes ago. And so I'm going to drop 2 bagels in the boiling water, and this water is with the honey and the baking soda. It's a little bit brown tinged. That's normal. So we're going to drop these in, and if they don't float right away, that's okay. They will float with a little nudging after about 30 seconds, but eventually you want them to float like that. That one's already floating, so this one might just need a little nudge to get off the bottom. There we go. So once they are floating, then you set your timer, but it's supposed to be 1 to 2 minutes. And after 1 to 2 minutes, then you flip them over and then you take them out. Flip them over, do 1 to 2 minutes on the other side, and then take them out. And you don't put more than 2 or maybe 3 in there at a time because you don't want them overcrowded. It's a really weird concept to me that we boil a bread product, but this is what gives bagels their nice chewy texture. And it works. So we still do it. So you just flip it over by pushing on an edge, and they flip really easily. So I'm going to reset my timer and start it again. And I'm going to go for about a minute, because that's the kind of mood I'm in today. And you can see these are not nice, smooth, perfectly shaped bagels like you'll find in a store. And that's great to me, because that means I made them and they're homemade and they're individual.
So look at the water is boiling out of the middle of that hole. It's not boiling out of the middle of that one.
It's kind of starting to a little bit. Do you think there's relevance to that? It's a data point, yeah. But that's why you put the hole in there, like I was saying before, because you want more surface area to be cooking the bagel. That's why you put holes in bagels. So that's been a minute. So I'm going to take these out. And I use tongs because my slotted spoon is not big enough. Kind of use the assist of the slotted spoon. You just want to let it drain for a couple seconds, and then you put it on your parchment paper, which is what I'm going to use to bake them. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I'm going to do a couple of plain bagels. So I'll do my plain bagels first. I'm doing 2 plain, 2 egg wash, and 2 everything. That one's floating already. That one needs a little nudge to float. And in the meantime, I'm going to preheat my oven to 425. All right, that is time. And you say you want the puffy side up when you put them on the baking sheet, so sometimes it's hard to tell, but I'm going to go with that as the puffy side. When you drop them in there like that and the dough sticks to your finger, it leaves a little tail. You'll see that it does this to your bagel. It leaves a little tail like that. Not a big deal, it just looks funny. So while these are boiling for that minute, I'm going to do my egg wash on 2 of these. First 2 I did. In the store you get egg bagels. Well, that's all they do, is they wash them with eggs before they bake them. I use a pizza stone. I didn't mention this. I use a pizza stone for pretty much all my baking. Partly because our oven is 40 years old and regular size cookie sheets don't fit in there, but also because I actually like the even baking abilities and properties of the baking stones. So not only do we use these for pizzas, but we also use them for pretty much everything else. I use them for cookies, I use them for bagels, I use them for pretty much everything. But that's what I'm using, and that's why I'm using it. But you don't have to use a baking stone. You can use a regular cookie sheet. Okay, so that is it. Last of the bagels. Last of the boiling, anyway. Okay, I had to put one bagel back in here because I could see some dough oozing out of it. So I'm going to give it about another 30 seconds in the hot water. Anyway, so I'm going to do 3 everything bagels, and I'm going to use my last 3 that I boiled. They're cool enough to handle, and I have my little seasoning here. So all you do is you take the top of them and you kind of dip them in there like that. Got your everything topping like that. Like that. Ooh, they smell good. Looks like birdseed, but it doesn't smell like birdseed. It smells like garlic and onion. Okay. There we go. So my oven is not quite preheated yet. So we're going to bake these in a 425-degree oven for about 20 minutes. You just keep an eye on them. You look for them to be a little crispy, or not crispy, but golden brown on the top. My oven does not bake evenly, so after about 10 or 15 minutes, I'm just going to turn the pan because the back ones bake a little faster than the ones in the front. Other than that, we will check in on them when they're done. Oven's preheated. We're going in. This is from the bread. I don't need that in there. All right. Check on it and turn it at that last 5 minutes so that they can bake more evenly. So we'll do 15. Check on it, give it a spin, and do the last 5. All right. Bagels are done. Oh, those look good. Smell good too. Nice toasty looking brown on the top. Those look good. The true test will be when we cut into them. So Brian made a suggestion that we do bigger holes on a few of them. That's this one, and this one that we did bigger holes. And as you can see, that worked out really well because the ones that we didn't, they actually closed up, a couple of them in the middle, almost this one completely closed, this one closed. And then you don't get that bigger cooking surface volume. So I think next time I will definitely make bigger holes on them. Other than that, I think when we cut into these, they're going to be delicious, but we'll show you. But they smell super yummy, and I'm going to just transfer them over here to the cooling rack. Let them cool, and then we'll cut into them a little later and try them. I can't wait. I think I've got it down. I was born in Pennsylvania, Allentown area. I lived there till I was about 6 years old. And my dad used to take me down to this Jewish bakery, and I would have bagels and lox. And lox is basically smoked salmon. I loved it. It was one of the things that, it reminds me of my dad. Anyway, my dad passed many, many years ago. And every time I eat lox and bagels, it reminds me of my dad. So basically, this is what I'm doing. I'm just chopping up slicing some salmon, and I'm going to put it on one of my freshly baked bagels. I'm going to try the everything bagel because I have never tried one of these before. So it smells delicious. It's got a nice soft texture to it, but it is browned on the top. So let's see what it looks like on the inside. I don't lose all my toppings during the process. There are some people who say they don't like bagels because of the chewy texture. Pretty sure those people are aliens, but that's just personal opinion. So far, looks pretty good. It's got that nice, good texture. We'll put some cream cheese on it and taste it, but I think this was a success. Some people say bagels are really just a vessel for the cream cheese. I tend to agree with those people. Bon appetit. It's a big bite. Sorry. That's the best bagel I've ever had. I couldn't help it. No, that's actually really good. It's got that nice chewy texture, and it's got the little bit tanginess of the sourdough, but it's not, the sourdough isn't overwhelming. Of course,
I've got other stuff on it too, but I'll taste just the plain part of this bagel here. It's got the crispy outside and the soft, chewy inside. I think it's a winner. I did it! Woo! I'm going to call this a success, and I would say in the future, my lesson learned is that I will make bigger holes in the middle, and I'll probably try other things on the top, but I think it's a win. Thanks for following along, and maybe next time we'll do something different with sourdough. That's it.